Welcome. Hello. It's time for Blocktalk. We are on Bitcoin block 430,580. We're halfway through the difficulty change. Things are going well. Take a look at that network status. Ooh, it looks like the mempool has gotten really big here. Weird clog for this time. Busy Monday.
A lot of people got to get their Bitcoin flowing.
Yeah, something might be going down. Oh, and we got a fresh new block from FTP pool. But yeah, great forecast for the network. Oh, look at all. They just cleared that whole pool out. So we got some sponsors here. Syscoin. They are building a marketplace on their blockchain with many awesome services. So you don't even have to use a Tor browser. You can do it all from their wallet. You get your encrypted messaging, downtime. It works with Bitcoin and Syscoin. It's merged mine with Bitcoin. So you get some added security. Pretty cool stuff, and we'll have them on the show here sometime soon. But we got 2 older episodes if you want to learn more. And our second sponsor is Bittrex, the only place in the world to trade ZeroCash. No, I'm joking. You can trade Digix DAO on it, though. They are kind of the leading exchange for Digix, and look at that, we got a little spike in volume. So I'm pretty happy about that. Another great interview on the show. Check out the Digix DAO on the Ethereum chain. They probably got a pretty cool presentation going on right now in China. So as usual, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll get the show on the road here. So hi, I'm Alex, your usual host, and I'm here with my friend Jordy, aka Not So Fast.
How's it going, gentlemen?
And we have 2 awesome people here. We have Tim and Salt from Zeropond.
Right.
That's it. Hi, I'm Tim.
Guys.
So sorry, I gave you guys your intro at the same time just to see how you'd react, putting you under pressure. But no, it's really, I'm hearing a lot of buzz about not just ZeroCash, but also this cloud mining operation that you guys are planning on doing some crowdfunding for. So I guess to maybe start with, could you, for anyone who's been living under a rock, could you tell us a little more about what is ZeroCash and what's its benefit over other currencies like Monero, and what you see all the buzz is about?
So it's called ZCash. ZeroCash was a previous incarnation that they tried and fixed some problems with. So we're talking about ZCash here. The whole idea behind ZCash is to have strong cryptographic security around private transactions. In Monero, we know a bit about Monero from mining that previously. You have what's called a ring signature. It's like you could think of it as when people trade money, they throw chips into the middle of a poker table and then take out what they get paid. So it's not completely anonymous. It's one of the people at that poker table who put in their chips. So Zcash has much stronger anonymity. They use what's called zero knowledge proofs, so that you get paid, but you don't know, how much money they had. No one else sees the transaction. So it's some really cool cryptography.
Cool. So I think one of the reasons why I think people are buzzing about this is because to launch a coin like this, you don't know what the initial supply is or anything. So I think you need a good legal structure to say we're doing this in a provable way where there's no unfairness. Is that kind of my understanding, I guess?
Yeah, absolutely. Initially we were approached by people who wanted to buy Zcash, ahead of time, and we can't guarantee that we're going to produce it, right? Because no one knows what the hash rate is going to be. So one of the reasons we decided to take a mining approach was guarantee a certain amount of hash power, because that's just setting up hardware, basically. So we thought that would be a more transparent way to do this.
I admire that. I think there's a lot of potential for the amount of demand, especially with the slow start mining and the limited block rewards and amount of Zcash available at the very beginning. There's got to be a lot of temptation to sort of pre-satisfy that demand, whether it's by Bitcoin rewards that, oh, we sold your Zcash to something like that. Yeah, I could see a lot of Ponzi potential from this, and it looks like you guys are trying to do it legitimately, which is why I'm excited, because I want to mine it at scale, and there's no service to do so until Zeropond.
There's no denying that there's been a lot of people burnt in the past with cloud mining services or equivalent situations. So we're aware of those people that have come before us inside Bitcoin and stuff like that, and we're doing everything we can to show that this is legit. We are buying the hardware. We will be mining at full speed for people and trying to perform best for our customers.
It's funny that Not So Fast brought up slow start. Let's just mention that for our viewers who may not know. Zcash, for the first month, actually doesn't give the full block reward right away. So it starts at almost 0, and it scales up linearly over the first 20,000 blocks. That gives the devs time to maybe make adjustments before there's a whole lot of value in the blockchain and that sort of thing. But like Jordy said, that's probably going to cause an extra shortage right at the beginning. So people just need to be aware of that. There's probably going to be a little extra price pressure because slow start means there's going to be actually even fewer coins than there would be at the beginning. And that will last about a month.
Totally.
Because they've chosen kind of an economic policy like length very similar to Bitcoin, right? Like you're talking about 50% of the coins over 4 years.
Yeah, so they mimic the monetary base expansion of Bitcoin, but they have a faster block time. So it's a 2.5-minute block time. So to make up for that, they also cut the block reward into a quarter of what the normal is. So it's a 12.5 Zcash, block reward, but it's every 2.5 minutes. The other thing people should be aware of is that there's a founder reward. It's basically 20% of the mining for the first 2 years, and then it stops. And so eventually, when we hit that 21 million Zcash mark, the founder reward is diluted down to 10%. So there's some confusion over the amount of the founder reward. Eventually, it's going to be 10%, but for the first 2 years, it's 20, and then it decays. So the actual block reward going to people who are miners is 10 Zcash after slow start when it ramps up to the full value, because the other 2.5 goes to the dev team initially.
Yeah, I remember being critical of a lot of altcoins in like 2014 when they had like really long monetary policies, and I'm just like, I feel like the buzz will just die down and you're continually just shit out coins for like 4 years, because we're not even like 2 years after or 4 years after 2014 yet, and some of these coins haven't halved. So that would be my main concern, I guess, with Zcash is you're gonna have all this demand and buzz in the initial beginning, and then eventually that dies off and supply just keeps coming and coming. So you might get a chart that ends up looking like Ethereum's, where you have that kind of big spike at the beginning and it just slowly bleeds out. I think library is probably another good example.
That's a really good one. They have a different kind of supply curve and emission, and there's a lot of artificially constrained supply. That's not the case with Zcash, but it may end up being just a price decline anyway. The supply is constrained, but it's a known quantity. Whereas with some other altcoins out there, it's definitely unknown, and that adds to more speculation on the upside and a harder crash. No, I think people will realize that Zcash is the few dozens of Zcash that are around in the first few days are going to be wildly overpriced, and then some people will want that anyway to say they got in first, because a lot of people are hailing it as the next Bitcoin with a double capital B or something like that. There's I think in any case we'll discover the price pretty quickly, and services like yours are going to be instrumental in helping us discover that, because we know at least what the cost or the market value of the mining inputs are, and from that we can derive a better sense of what one ZEC, sorry, I'm Canadian, is worth.
He said services.
So actually, the BitMEX has opened a futures market already, so we do have some price discovery started already. It's highly illiquid. I don't recommend that people put a lot of weight in it necessarily, but if you look at BitMEX, they have a future that's already listed. I believe it's around $50 right now.
Yeah, Arthur loves to speculate on everything, it seems.
So take it for what it's worth, but we are starting to see some price discovery.
Mm-hmm.
So with that $50 per ZEC, have you guys run those calculations based on the cost of your servers and your services and done some preliminary break-evens with that, or is that even worth doing, do you think, or not really?
So our pricing is based around our hardware and electricity costs,
right.
not necessarily the price of ZEC. And it's hard to estimate that because we don't know what network difficulty is going to be on launch.
Right.
Output, whether it's our output, one of our miners' output, some other miner's output, is going to be determined by that network difficulty, of course. So even at X price point, the net hash could be at a wide range. Right now on the test net, it's very low.
Yeah.
But that's not really a very good determiner.
Yeah, it's not really indicative of anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys released some info today, I guess, on the pricing. And I think one thing that kind of confused me a bit is you're talking a lot about CPUs.
Yeah. We're trying to find the best way to present this. It's been a struggle, and we're welcome, to hear any feedback. These are we wanted people to be able to compare the hash rate against something that they're familiar with. And right now there's no open source GPU miners out there in the public. So they don't know how fast a GPU would go. So we wanted to put it in terms of something that somebody can run a test at home on their own computer. And so we did that, and we ran the ZCash reference miner on a couple different desktops to see how fast they could mine. And then we sort of picked a number and said, this is about what a desktop would do. And it turns out to be 0.1 hash per second. The proof of work for Zcash is really slow compared to maybe what you're used to with other coins.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So like these figures here, well, I'm just trying to understand, I guess, what I'm buying if I participate in your crowd fund. It looks like you're selling per month, I guess.
Yep. So we have 3-month contracts. We have a price per month, so the contract would be 3x that normally, but we're taking the 50% cut from the slow start off the consumer. So it's really 2.5x for the full contract cost.
We need to get the full contract cost on there. That's our fault. It should be at the bottom there. We're going to get that posted soon. But yeah, like Salt said, 50% off the first month, and then 2 more months at the price you see listed. That's the total contract cost.
Cool. I like that. It sounds good.
Yeah.
I'm
already budgeting, actually.
So this seems very similar, I guess, to like mining rig rentals. Like you're paying, but you guys are structuring it as a much longer time frame. I think the longest on there is like 2 days.
I've seen a few rentals on mining rig rentals that go as long as a month, but it's rare. It's really rare. But we were actually aware of the other hash rate rental services out there, right? Did you look at those at all when sort of structuring your offering in order to make it understandable for the types of people that will rent your miners?
A little bit. One company I've worked with before that I really like for cloud mining stuff is Genesis Mining. I don't know if you've seen them at all. They actually sell 1- and 2-year contracts. So those are pretty long. What we wanted to do was to simply get at a minimum a portion of what we're investing into this out. That's just how it is in terms of electricity and hardware. So that's how we're structuring them as 3-month contracts. If things are looking good, we might do a 3-month extension at the same price for anybody who bought. And that's basically how it is. As far as renting rigs goes, we're selling a little bit more than that with this, because we do have a GPU miner that has higher efficiency. So we are able, comparatively to people who are trying to mine at home or something like that, or on EC2 instances, have higher efficiency per dollar using our service, since we have an in-house miner that actually outperforms what's currently the best public option.
Now, that I'd really like to pick your brain on, because there has been so much conjecture and people trying to do almost an arms race of development for this optimized GPU miner. And I've actually tried to join initiatives to crowdfund an open source one that ended up being kind of closed and then falling apart because of that, because it seems like there's always a better offer out there. So how open are you guys, can you guys be about your GPU miner, like in terms of how many CPUs does one GPU equal for the sake of optimization? Will you ever release it open source, or is it closed source proprietary? Can you tell me more about it, basically?
Yeah. So right now, an average sort of high ends, just pick a GPU that's on that side, is about 1.2 hashes a second.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it's a considerable speed up. It's not like, oh, groundbreaking, like ZCash is compromised type speed up, but it does give us enough to work with for sure.
So about 10 CPUs to a little more per GPU.
Yeah, currently.
Okay.
We're not sure our software is the best in the world. We do have a commitment to our customers that if somebody releases public open source software that works on our hardware, we will either adapt to use their software, we'll actually bring it in and run that so we can get better efficiency for the customers, or try to improve our own.
I think that's really brilliant. It speaks to the integrity and the reality of what you're doing. And, it's also, dog might shake the camera here on the tripod. It's also just sort of a way to keep up with the environment of what's going on. I mean, there's going to be tons of optimization racing, and I've discussed this at length with other people interested in mining about where we think there are going to be some private people that will really hit the hash rate hard with optimized miners as soon as the slow starts over or at certain points, and there's going to be a whole lot of attempting to game the hash rate, denial of service attacks and everything like that. So the fact that you guys are willing to upgrade to an open source miner that may be better than yours, that's a good thing. That makes me more confident that what you guys are doing it's coming from the right place. Again,
yeah. I mean, that benefits everyone, right? Like there's no downside to that. So
yeah,
it's just a matter of making sure that we can get it running securely, stably on our hardware. So it's a little bit of testing, but we will definitely come through on that sort of stuff.
So one thing I saw on your site is you guys had like a signature of Monero that you guys mined, and that kind of proved that you did own some you do own some graphics cards, right? So, but you're looking to purchase like larger setups. Like that's the purpose of the fund, is to expand your operations.
Yeah, totally. We don't have anything left from the actual Monero mining operation. We were doing a mix of different sources, some creative stuff with spot instances, stuff like that, and that was a software advantage primarily on our ends as well. So that was just more proof that we were successful in the past at doing this, that we're not just coming to the party, never mined before. We don't have an idea about how to, manage uptime, how to write, efficient software that could compete with others on the market and stuff like that. So altogether, I think we mined 320,000, something like that, Monero. And you can check using that view key. Anybody can confirm that and verify that those are Coinbase addresses as well, Coinbase transactions.
Cool.
That's a lot of Monero.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't wait until it was $12 or whatever. So
yeah, we sold too early, and so that's one of our big interests in ZCash. We're in this.
Everybody sells too early when they mine it.
Yeah. So I just
bills to pay.
Yeah, I want to mention one thing about that. Our business model is, getting the Bitcoin in, and we're making sure that we can buy the hardware and pay the expenses so that we can guarantee operation of the miners, because it's a cost plus kind of model that we're selling the hash rate at. And then our profit is just, Zcash. So we're here because we believe in Zcash, and we didn't hold our Monero long enough, and so maybe that'll change this time.
That's cool. That's the reason why I like to mine stuff too, is that I think future capital gains of the project, right? So I think your hearts are in the right place from what I can see, which is good.
So you guys mentioned that the costs are mainly just electricity costs, but are there other costs of like maintenance, like you're paying someone to monitor these things 24/7, or?
We're on this project full time, but we do have costs. The hardware cost for sure. Peripherals, we need a motherboard per 6 GPUs and stuff like that. And we're actually starting off in a data center, and I know that sounds a little expensive, which it's sort of our phase one. And what we want to do is make sure that we provide uptime and scalability for this project. Like if somebody comes to us and says, we'd really like to, we're a group of people and we're interested in mining, we really want to get 50 or 100 GPUs. We don't want to worry about the power output of the building if we rent some warehouse or something like that. So we're doing this for the beginning. And once we sort of stabilize and what we know is this is our mining farm for the most part, we're going to go and sort of optimize later for location, electricity, et cetera. So that's sort of our two-step plan right now. We've seen me and Tim have done a number of other startups and stuff like that before. And we think, a lot of this premature optimization often can be really damaging to a project, especially when we have basically like a month and a half or something, a month to work with right now.
Yeah, that seems sound. So a lot of people in this space look to the personalities and the names behind a project in order to validate legitimacy and accountability. So is there a place like on the Zeropond site or something where we can just look at what projects you guys have done in the past and maybe, speak a little bit about that now?
Yeah, we got we have our LinkedIn's up there. Cool. So you can definitely check those out. Tim and I most recently worked on a company that was sort of unrelated. We were doing basically a GitHub for supplements.
Cool.
And we were partnering with some of these supplement manufacturing facilities to enable, through robotics, single bottle production of pills. So you could go on there, fork somebody else's nootropic stack, and add in a little bit more paracetam or something like that, and have your own custom bottle shipped to you in the mail. So that's the most recent thing we were working on together.
Cool.
Before moving out to the Bay Area, I was a security analyst for a company called ISE. Done a lot of sort of security is my background. That's sort of one of my primary interests. And so yeah, but feel free to check out my LinkedIn and my email's up there too. Happy to respond to any emails, even if you just want to chat.
Cool. I'll definitely be picking your brain. So you're a security analyst. That's good, because I had a question about, especially with competing mining pools and miners, there's a propensity to have denial of service attacks against other large miners in order to grab more of a share of the net hash rate. So do you guys have a security plan in place, considering your expertise?
Yeah, we definitely looked into some options. Some of it, we'd sort of like to keep quiet about just in general, because
Sure.
We don't want to open up people to analyzing our plan. But of course, there's no way to usually 100% protect against that stuff. It's all about security and layers, which basically means having different levels of protection as you go down that hopefully keeps everything running well and stable. For example, that could start with having secure internet connection and secure power at the absolute lowest level. I mean, that is a basic staple of an operation like this. And it scales all the way up to maybe making optimizations or modifications to the core ZCash client to prevent sort of common denial of service attacks that could be found in the cryptocurrency daemons.
Cool. Okay.
Some of the other services that you guys were offering. I don't know. You were kind of going for a blockchain.info type usability, maybe like having a web wallet service, I think is what I heard.
Yeah. So
We're not going to. Yeah, we're not going to promise that yet. We'd love to get a wallet service up, and we're going to try to do that because a lot of people don't have a Linux box with Zcash D to make a wallet. But yeah, obviously Zcash is in an early stage of development, and so we've tried to make a few tools just to help the community and kickstart the community. We're only going to be successful if Zcash itself is successful, and so that's the way we see it. If we can, boost the community as a whole, it can only be good for us too. So, we have the faucet up there, and we're going to put up a pool and hopefully a web wallet, but yeah, can't promise it yet. We're going to try.
As long as there's a GUI wallet, you guys are going to be better than Monero.
Yeah, better than you.
Yeah, seriously. Like after all these years, you still have to use command line, it seems.
yeah, I still love Monero. Don't get me wrong. I think that Zcash and Monero both can coexist peacefully and actually probably help each other. There's going to be a lot of legislation probably coming up. If Monero and Zcash continue to take off, that it would be really great for the communities to collaborate on. I don't know if they'd be willing to do that, but I think it would be really good for both coins.
Speaking of coexisting, like I was just crunching some numbers before, but maybe I'll run these by you too. Like a 6-card graphics or like mining rig, probably like a half a gigahash
Of
Ethereum, maybe.
Oh,
maybe I think it's 12 is what I calculated at as a half. So you have. No, it was 48 for 1 gigahash. I'm already forgetting my numbers. But it was something like if you take the current stats of the Ethereum network, which is 5 terahashes, it's like over 200,000 graphics cards.
that sounds about right, just from the warehouses people have built and the number of casual miners working on Ethereum right now.
Yeah, and now for those of you, I guess we don't have a live stream of the conference, but I interviewed Vlad Zamfir of the Ethereum project, and he was talking about their switch to proof of stake, and actually it's going to be rolled out in stages. You're going to have a couple different hybrids in between to the full proof of stake model. But I'm curious of your thoughts and what this might mean for the mining on Zcash, because now that's a lot of hardware that's going to be up for up for sale. Just out and about. Yeah.
So I think that proof of stake historically has had some major security risks associated with a lot of them. There was actually a very interesting paper published recently, which I haven't fully had the time to understand, but I'm really interested in. It's called Provably Secure Proof of Stake, which addresses some of those problems. So I think proof of stake is possible. I think the Zcash team will probably, they're very security conscious people, and they do like to make sure they fully understand the problem before they move forward and change things. So I think that, we will have plenty of time, especially even with, 3 to 6 month contracts to deliver for those people on anything that happens. I think that would be a major move for them, and they still have to deal with coin distribution then. So a proof of stake switch would probably occur after there was significant distribution, right? It doesn't make sense to do a proof of stake switch when you have like 1% distribution or something after the first.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
My question, I guess, was more on what do you think this will do for the marketplace of hash rate? Like, this could represent a serious surplus in graphics cards. Do you think it's amazing, like how profitable Ethereum is with that many graphics cards mining? Because that is a serious amount of miner dump.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they're willing to sell those cards, we're buying. So let's put me in touch. More scary for us is that one of those big Ethereum mines, has developed their own in-house GPU miner. Some of the big players, can throw money at the problem, and so that's obviously a big risk. One of these big farms switches to Zcash early. People should be aware of that before they buy our product. No one knows what the hash rate is going to be. And that's why we can only promise hash rate. We can't promise Zcash. But yeah, it's definitely, if I were an Ethereum miner, I'd be taking a hard look at Zcash. I might wait and see after Genesis how it's going to look. But yeah, I would expect the hash rate to jump in the early months if it looks good for miners to switch over.
Now, right now I've been hearing a little bit about dual mining. I know it's kind of unfeasible to dual mine with Decred because you can blow your cards pretty easily. Like you're maxing the cards out when you have Decred and Ethereum.
Yeah.
But apparently Varium, like the Vericoin proof of work chain, it actually complements well with Ethereum, so you can mine 2 proof of works. I'm kind of curious though, like, would you guys ever look at repurposing the hardware or, you know, other chains, or are you purely just focused on ZCash?
ZCash.
It's like, even if there's more profit potential.
I mean, we're making a commitment to our users that we're going to mine ZCash. I mean, that's what we're offering. That's what we're going to deliver. Like, there have been a lot of talks about forks that eliminate the founder reward and this sort of thing. You know, that's just out of greed. What's great about ZCash is that it has an all-star team. They've been working on it really hard for a long time. And, you know, that kind of backing from the dev team is not every coin. And that's what's making ZCash special. We want to support the dev team, and we're going to mine the official blockchain ZCash. And that's what our users want.
Yeah, it's important to note that a lot of people that want to cut the ZCash dev team out because their argument is that, oh, well, that team is too greedy. You know, they're the ones that designed the entire economy of this thing. And if they were paying themselves an overly unfair rate, then nobody would be really interested in it. So you got to figure that they haven't been doing all this work to put themselves out of business to another chain that pays people fairly. So yeah, I think that's pretty astute, and it's what a lot of people don't realize is that the founder reward is like not greedy, trying to cut them out of the work that they've been doing with another chain. And there will be another chain. There'll be a clone of ZCash without the founder reward for sure.
There's already been 2. I mean,
So I think, you know, but those don't have the support. They can only at best update whatever open source software they can get their hands on, and then, you know, if they want a GPU miner, they have to, you know, beg you guys to open the source for yours eventually, or someone else's, or whatever they can get their grubby little hands on. So yeah, no, I agree with your assessment of that.
Great.
So do you guys have any? Well, I might laugh to say, do you have a minimum or do you have maximums for your crowdfund?
Yeah, we haven't figured out our maximum yet. It's just really a matter of what we can source reliably. We really don't want to overcommit and, you know, sell a bunch of GPUs to people and then not be able to source them in the month before mining goes online. So we will have that information. We'll have you know, limited supply sort of on the site, and orders will close when that's reached. And then we'll run another round later when we know we can source all the hardware we need. We really want this just to be a smooth experience for the people who decide to, you know, become our customer. As for the minimum, it's basically 1 CPU, so it's like
I think it's like a $30 contract, $32, something like that for 3 months. So it's pretty in reach, I hope.
Yeah, I think that's, I know a lot of people have been wanting to dabble in doing their own miner, and I tell them, you know, maybe just play around with mining rig rental so you understand the economies of it first.
Yeah.
But you guys are going like one step further, like you're not making anyone deal with any pools. It's just a simple, I guess, you know, pay in, get paid out.
Yeah, we're actually going to be hosting our own pool, and you know, allowing other people to connect to it to get some of that efficiency bonus from mining blocks.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you know, you may as well strengthen the net hash and smooth out the distribution of Zcash amongst all your miners, including people that aren't paying you directly for hash rate, but just jumping on your pool too.
Totally.
That's a big point for us, Jordy. We were approached by private investors to do this when they found out that we had a miner. And, you know, we thought about it, but one of the great things about doing it as a cloud mining crowdfund kind of thing, we get Zcash into the hands of more people. You know, if we just have, you know, the founders fund and a couple big mines, big farms, and a couple private investors, they're just going to hoard the Zcash, and it's not going to kickstart the economy. So one of the things we really hope we can help with the community is to just make this accessible to a greater number of people. And then you have, you know, more people on the exchanges. You have more people actually using Zcash and transactions and that sort of thing, instead of just tucking it away as an investment in your portfolio kind of thing. Obviously, you can do that too, but, you know, I think more people involved is better.
Yeah, distribution at the outset, I think, is really important for it to. Well, people feel shut out if a giant optimized private GPU miner storms in, takes 90% of the hash rate, threatens to fork it to 100 whenever they want if something doesn't go right, holds the dev team in thrall, for example. Like nobody wants that. So I think, yeah, if you're planning on running it with the primary goal of distributing it profitably to as many people as you can, you're in the right place, I think.
We got a question from the chat here. How will you be managing payouts? That's a common weak point for security, so it's a concern for those of us considering buying in.
Okay, so we're going to have a sort of dashboard, and once you make an account and place an order, you'll be able to see your hash rate on the dashboard, and you'll also be able to enter a transparent Zcash address. We're thinking about allowing protected addresses, but for the start, we'll just do transparent since it's easier to send for now. We'll just do automatic payouts. So it's yet to be determined when that is, whether that's 3 times a day, twice a day. But we basically don't want to be holding your funds for you. If you don't enter an address, we probably will hold those until you come and claim them. But for the most part, we would prefer if people put their Zcash address in there and we just drip out to them constantly.
Give your address or else it's going to the faucet.
Well, that's what, I mine a lot of altcoins, and I'm guilty of certain times I'll just leave them all on the pool and build up a whole bunch of balance, more than is fair or right or smart to put in the hands of a third party who I haven't really met ever. So yeah, it's a good idea to practice safe mining and have a payout address that you 100% own and control with regular slow drip payouts. And if you guys support that, then that's what I advise anybody mining Zcash to do.
Totally agree.
One of the, criticisms that I think a couple other people have of Monero is it seems like a large portion of the supply is on Poloniex, which really doesn't add much anonymity because, it's all in one location, so you can really gauge everything. If you guys have like 30 or 40% in your pool, aren't you kind of providing some sort of tracking, or are you allowing like Tor logins or anything like that to your pool?
It's a good point. Haven't really considered that, but we'll definitely look into that sort of stuff.
Cool. I
guess with the zero knowledge transactions, it gets really hard to trace anything beyond 1 or 2 hops to the pool after the fact. I mean, It's all just like percentages of the pie conjecture. So if you do get a significant amount of the Zcash hash rate and are producing a significant amount of it, I mean, maybe you could be subpoenaed for your user list or something like that. But if you try to keep privacy of records, I mean, you guys probably aren't enforcing any kind of KYC, AML, data collection or anything like that, right?
No, we're selling these as basically hardware rental contracts, something like that. It's not, whatever you make from it is what you make, and it's your decision to do what you do with those.
Good stuff.
The cool thing about Zcash is that, you can basically, in a single transaction, totally disconnect one address from another. So using their join split stuff, you can basically have a protected address and just take whatever you've mined as transparent coins, put them in there, and they're suddenly washed into the ether. It's really cool stuff.
I just want to jump in real quick. For people who don't know, there are 2 types of addresses in Zcash. There's a transparent address, which looks just like Bitcoin. People can see your transactions just like Bitcoin. Then there's a protected address that has all the special privacy controls of Zcash. So if you have money in a transparent address and you want to make a secret transaction, you have to put it into a protected address first and only deal with protected address if you want that privacy layer.
Oh, I'm sorry, just reading the chat here. We got a pretty good discussion going on. I guess just to clarify, like you're selling 3-month allotments, or is it 1 month, or you can get both?
It's 3 months, and we pick that as a good sort of balance. We have to we're buying this hardware, and so we're amortizing that hardware cost actually across 6 months on our books. That's the way we think about it. But we thought that a 6-month contract, we had people even ask for 12-month contracts. We just don't think that's responsible mining. No one knows what the hash rate is going to look like after Genesis block. We want our users to be happy. So 3 months is really the longest that we wanted to go in terms of, having people to commit to this thing.
So we're thinking about doing a 3-month extension at the same rate. Prices are going to go up after our initial round. This is sort of like you can imagine a Kickstarter to get this thing off the ground. Yeah, but the basic thing it comes down to is we don't do 1-month contracts because we want to try to prevent there being this sharp peak of interest, and then we buy whatever 1,000 GPUs and we can't pay for them. So,
well, and if you want to model it maybe more like a traditional business, like you're doing your quarterly earnings report sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So those regular statements, and people can kind of judge based on the quarter. So that's kind of interesting.
Totally.
I guess I don't know if you have any more questions.
We're getting a few just through the chat speaking to legitimacy. So somebody saying here, will you publish the addresses transparently for the total funds that you mine? Will you share a budget for the pre-sale so the exact items received? That seems less, like a total of your Bitcoin inputs. Will you film the mining equipment before launch? Will you do a pre-test on the test net to demonstrate your total hash power at the same time? Have you considered doing any of that?
Yeah, we've done and are planning to do some of those things already. We don't want to commit to every possible way to confirm, but we are planning to do a pre-test on the test net shortly. We've published some of our purchase receipts already. We have a Tumblr. And we put some pictures of us in data centers on there and purchasing hardware. We're going to take pictures of our setup when that happens. We've also met with some community members, or at least Tim has so far. Just people on the forums who said, look, I'm willing to come check you out. And we're gonna meet with them again once we have this thing really roaring.
Anyone who wants to come visit in San Francisco and see the operation, I'll invite you to my house. You can see the miner. You can, we'll take you into the data center if you want to check it out. Like it's all open.
Awesome.
I might take you up on that.
Yeah, road trip.
Because I'm into mining and I'm into big mining operations. So it would be cool to see.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see. So I think I'll have to plan a trip to Van and drive down. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's awesome how transparent you guys are being. Like, I know coming into this, we kind of talked a little bit about how cloud mining is such a controversial subject because it is so easy to run a Ponzi. But at the same time, it's like you approach it from the with the right metrics and the right business plan to actually show you're doing this fruitful planning, and you guys are bringing this, expertise to the table for sure. Yeah, it's already looking better than the Cryptsy mining shares I bought. I guess I don't know if I had.
There was a question there were a couple of questions about sort of denial of service attacks and, what if we go down? What if there's that kind of failure? I think the easiest way to handle that is to just extend the contract time. If we're down for a couple days, obviously we can just run for longer. We are going to have all the hardware in place to do that. So, that shouldn't hit our books very hard, and hopefully that would be reasonable compensation to people. Obviously, we're going to try to prevent that scenario, but we have to plan for everything.
Worst case, yeah.
What do you guys think about what is it, BitAnt or BitFury? Someone's launching a second mining pool for Bitcoin, which I find pretty crazy. Like, what's the difference between 1 and 2? You have control of both of them.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
No, I haven't been following that, honestly. I'll have to look into it, but yeah, they could theoretically just combine pool power, likely, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's Bitmain. Yeah, so yeah, Bitmain announced they were launching a second pool, and I think they're doing a lot of acquisitions. Like they bought Blocktrail.
I didn't know that.
So now BTC.com is now a web wallet and an Explorer. So you're seeing like some dynamos in the Bitcoin space come out, which is kind of interesting, I guess. But you have to wonder where all these funds come from. Like, are they malicious? And that's kind of where maybe a dev fund is kind of better. Like the chain is paying. It becomes a really complicated argument.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think since there is the technology available for them to be transparent, if they use it, that would be definitely a good sign of faith, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's the cool thing, is that you can make good faith public transactions with Zcash, and you can make private transactions, and the choice is yours. There have been other altcoins that have, they call them stealth addresses and regular addresses, but they've had the preliminary technology available before, but not with zero knowledge proof. So, this is a way of, I guess, the 2.0 of anonymity, I would say, in cryptocurrency.
Do you guys have any interesting opinions on like the other dynamo in the anon space, Dash?
I personally, I've never really been interested in Dash. I think I don't want to sit here and trash any other coins, honestly, but I think they have a really great marketing campaign. And I looked into a lot of privacy-focused coins and sort of fell in love with Monero a while ago. And that's just sort of where I ended up focusing on. So I don't, not too familiar with Dash. But yeah, I basically like any cryptocurrency as long as I can, it's not just a clear clone of another coin that's built to drain people of their personal incomes,
As so many of them are.
Yeah.
And it's so innovative. We change the difficulty by that one little value.
Yeah,
all that. But I think I'm pretty well tapped out for questions. I found this is pretty informative. Any more from the chat?
Just one. Have you talked with Zuko at all?
Oh yeah.
Yes, we actually chatted with Zuko before we even started this project. We were introduced through a common friend who's involved with both projects here in San Francisco. And because of our work with Monero mining, we were able to give him a little advice in terms of the proof of work parameters for Zcash, how to maybe squeeze out botnets, what the right settings for that are.
Incredible. Because that's always been a concern of previous CPU mining only cryptocurrencies, is that botnets just take control of them. And that's happened with a few less programmed ones, I guess, early on. So
yeah, it's a big challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not sure about the botnet scene for Zcash. I guess I personally believe that we probably are going to see botnets, that the memory requirements for the current settings aren't maybe quite high enough. And that's something that can be adjusted after the launch, of course, with the dev teams, if the dev team chooses to, and if, we'll go along with what the dev team is up for, so.
So if you guys have contact with him, do you think you can tell him to return my emails? I just want to hear from him.
You know what? They are so busy trying to get this done. They're really committed to the October 28th launch date, as far as I can tell. And they're all working extremely hard right now. There's a lot that has gone into Zcash, and the best thing right now for the whole community is to let them get it done.
I agree. Spoken like a true supporter, I think.
He's got the hold in his veins.
Yeah.
I know. So we got a little. All right, what's the question here? What's your relationship with HE?
HE must be Hurricane Electric, I guess. Is that right?
I have no idea, but if you,
I think they mean Hurricane Electric. We blogged about it. We visited their facility last week. We were going to check out one more data center today, and then we're going to make a decision and pull the trigger this week. Probably.
Oh, cool. So they're just the San Fran data center?
Probably tomorrow. Yeah, they're in Fremont, actually. It's South Bay. They have a very large facility, plenty of room to grow in there. They're not fancy, not a lot of flashing lights, very engineering oriented. They just keep it simple and get it done.
Well, if you guys need slightly cheaper power, I'm sure up north here in Canada, you got a lot more affordable rates. and cooler winters to maybe cut down on cooling costs.
Yeah, but you'd have to buy winter jackets, and for people in California, that's just not an option.
The graphics cards would love it. They would love it.
They do love it. They do love it.
You guys just be huddled up next to them, like just
in the U.S., the big location is Oregon. They have hydroelectric power that's really cheap, and it's fairly cool there. Not maybe as cold as Canada, but
yeah, because that's I guess one interesting thing. Like we have a lot more data centers outsourced here for the cooling costs, but I'm not sure if that translates. Like if miners burn more power if they're hotter, or like is that an exponential curve, or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't even know if they really track it. It's all about getting hardware and putting it to work, and just keeping them cool enough to not have to replace, maintain a low burnout rate. And that's
so heat is actually really important, and we need to calculate that. And we've done that actually. Basically, all computing is waste heat. So whatever wattage that your board sucks in, you can pretty much assume that that's going to be emitted as heat. So one of the attractive things about Hurricane Electric, to follow on that thread, is that they only charge us for the power circuits. There's no cost for the cabinets. They have plenty of room. So they basically told us, look, you buy X number of circuits and then just spread out your hardware across the cabinets you need to keep the density low. A lot of big farms, you'll see, they try to go for high density. They use 3-phase power. They're cramming cards in together, and they have a real heat problem. That's when you start to get heat issues, when you put cards really close and you try to pack a cabinet full of them. Our plan right now is to have something like 15 cards in a cabinet. I mean, very light population. So it's going to be very airy, and they have hot, cold rows and all that standard top-tier data center shit. So
a full-height server cabinet is only going to have 15 GPUs in it?
Yeah, right now something like that, and that's because basically they suck so much power. So we're figuring about 300 watts per GPU if you include the motherboard draw as well. So 15 of those, what's that? 4.5. So you're almost at 5 kilowatts at that point. So if you have a 208 volt circuit at 30 amps and you run it at 80%, you don't want to run 100%. Run it at 80%, you end up with about 5 kilowatts. So if we put 15 cards in a cab, then you're at 4.5 kilowatts already. So just the power draw is enough to, give us good spacing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. How to slice it up that way. Can you divulge whether you're using AMD or NVIDIA?
AMD.
Yeah, sure. AMD all the way.
AMD. That's what I thought.
Yeah, NVIDIA's corporate strategy has shifted towards deep learning, and they're making these cards for server farms that are basically based on compute cycles for deep learning and power efficiency. AMD has taken an approach where they're focused on HBM memory and expanding the memory bandwidth. And that's what's critical for the proof of work for ZCash. We need memory bandwidth.
Yep.
So Furies work really great for us. Next spring and summer, they're going to come out with HBM2 cards. And so that's something that we'll look to cycle into. But right now, the HBM cards like the Fury are the best performers.
Cool. Okay, so for people building their own ZCash rig out there, the Fury is what you should be looking at when there is a open source GPU miner for you to use with it.
That'd be a good prediction, Mario. When will one be publicly available?
Yeah. Well, would you guys ever consider hitting, like, at a certain profit point, releasing your GPU miner open source?
So, yeah, no promises, right? But the way the market is going to go, somebody's going to come out with a GPU miner, right? And it's going to get faster, and that's going to narrow everybody. There's going to be a lot more competition, and at some point, it's just going to make sense for us to release it, right? Because they're going to be everywhere, right? So we might as well let it out.
There's a tipping point where keeping it private, you may have optimization tweak that, if added to the open source mix, might bump everybody up, and that rising tide would lift all the boats apparently. And the gains from keeping your cards close to the chest are no longer realizable at that point. It's better to share it all.
Totally.
Yeah. Cool. Well, it seems like you have everything set up the way it should be. And as far as your knowledge of, like, in-depth knowledge of structuring physical miners, I mean, there's a lot of cloud mining services that couldn't tell me 1% of what you have. So I'm pretty confident that you're actually doing what you're saying you're doing in terms of setting up GPUs and putting them to work on Zcash. So
we are. I mean, be happy to show it some other way as well. Whatever we need to do. Want people to feel comfortable with that.
Yeah. And it sucks that you have to jump over these hurdles, for people who are legitimate. But if you understand the amount of Bitcoin and work that have been lost to people meaning well, but taking risks on lack of information and not knowing what to ask, there's a lot of that out there. So I'm sure you can understand when people are skeptical before that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd be skeptical of any basically cryptocurrency startup these days anyways. So I think that's definitely healthy. But we hope there's a good path to convince basically anyone that whether they agree with our prices or not, we are legitimately doing this, and this is not just some straight up Ponzi scheme type situation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm just going to be straight up like mining Doge Cash. Oh man. So I think we got our time for a little tradition on the show here.
Okay.
Where we guess the price of Bitcoin in 1 week's time. Maybe we'll even guess. Huh?
1 week? I think it's 602.
602.
Throwing one out there already. Nice.
I'll take the over.
So it's 610.
602 and a cent.
602 and a cent. Wow.
Ooh.
That's gutty. What are you thinking, Jerry?
I'm 590. I'm a little bit bearish right now.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling a little bear too. I might undercut you and say
589.99.
Yeah, see, I'm almost tempted to. You know what? I'm kind of tempted that this floor here, this candle's going to hold, so maybe I'll just say 591. I want to cut in the middle. Yeah, cool. Coinigy seems to be acting up for me, but I'll do up this chart here and we'll talk about it later. Maybe you guys can say your predictions for what you think Zerocoin is going to, or ZCash, ZCash, whatever you want to call it. I'm pretty sure I messed up every single tag on the show tweet. So what are you guys thinking for initial price?
I'm definitely not going to make any predictions. That would be misconstrued. People need to make their own decision. There could be a lot of hash power out there or not. I'm not going to say, I can't say, that's something that people have to decide on their own. We're here to sell hash power at a good rate. And if you want to do that, we're here for you, I will say that I think it's probably going to be overhyped at the beginning, so people should be careful about that. I wouldn't be surprised if it starts really high and comes down. And don't be disappointed because of that either. There's going to just be limited supply. It's just economics. Once we get more coins in the market, I think we'll see a fairer value.
Yeah, I think the only reason to pay initial prices is to say that you bought some of the first ZEC.
Yeah. Some people have a drive to really just secure their position, though. I've definitely felt that before, where I was like, oh, I really would like, to be one in 100,000 for this coin or something, right?
Yeah. I mine a bunch of new crappy altcoin launches all the time, and on very many of them, the net hash is never, ever 10% as high as it is, right out of the gate on the first 100 or 500 blocks. So that's usually just people trying to get in, speculating, jumping in, paying any price just to get involved without even really knowing. And that's what often happens. So as long as I guess it's up to you guys and it's up to anybody who's interested in Zcash to proliferate the knowledge about it and the risks about the limited supply at the beginning, maybe overpricing it. I think that might bring everybody down to earth and get involved without getting burned.
It's a long-term game.
Yeah, long-term game.
Mm-hmm. But so you guys, the sale starts in 2 days. Is that what I'm seeing from the counter, or?
Yep, that's basically correct. We launch Wednesday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time.
Cool.
So basically Thursday at midnight.
Pacific time. It's gonna be so early in the morning here.
I'm getting up. I'm staking my claim.
Yeah, I'm already up at 4:30. I might as well get up an hour earlier and make sure I get some. But no, this is cool. Thank you so much, guys, for answering our questions. And I hope hope we can talk to you after the network launches, and we can maybe get a video tour, maybe even a live tour at some point.
That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
Perfect.
thanks for having us on.
Oh, great to meet both of you. Thanks, and good luck with the launch.
Yep.
Thanks a lot.
Everyone at home, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next 1,000 blocks.